So they actually banned TikTok. The TikTok ban is now completely official. The Supreme Court has ruled on it. They said they are not going to be intervening in the law banning TikTok, and the ban will officially go into effect on January 20th, 2025. Trump's administration has said that they will take steps to help TikTok to survive. Obviously, there's not a lot that they can do in this scenario. There's only one thing Trump can actually do, and we'll talk about it further in the video. But the ban has now gone into effect, or rather, it will go into effect on January 20th. TikTok will have to cease all operations, and that's just wonderful news. We know that a lot of Gen Zers will now be screeching and hollering all over different corners of the internet as they become digital refugees, the little jerks. Watch the end of the video to fully understand the implications of this ban fully going into effect, what it means for social media, what it means for women, what it means for a society going forward. And guys, don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. Our Rumble is linked in the description of the video. You never really know what can happen on this platform, so go ahead and follow us over there. And also, don't forget that the financial system is teetering on the edge. ATMs could freeze and banks might shut their doors. Your wealth is in jeopardy. Discover how to safeguard your assets with crypto at Angry's Crypto Academy. You'll learn how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in the most secure coins. Plus, discover the dark horse crypto that virtually no one is talking about, which will mint you millionaires in the upcoming bull run. Click the link in the video description below to find out what this crypto is and join the Academy today. And now let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
And a good Friday morning to you. We're coming on the air with some breaking news from the Supreme Court. The High Court has just declined to stop a ban of TikTok, now set to take effect on Sunday. TikTok is, of course, one of the most popular social media apps in this country, with some 170 million users in the U.S. alone. But the app is owned by a Chinese company, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have said that it is a national security risk. Today's decision comes after the court heard arguments from TikTok against the law that essentially forces its parent company, ByteDance, to sell its operations here. Situation very fluid right now. Both the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration, they've both said that they may try to keep the app going. Joined now by our senior legal correspondent, Laura Jarrett. So, Laura, let's just start with what this means, what it doesn't mean, and what happens next.
So no question, a defeat for TikTok here. Obviously, the ban can go through, but there's a question mark about whether the law is actually going to be enforced, even though it was a bipartisan law passed by Congress, signed by President Biden. It may not actually get enforced. So let's come back to that for a second. First, on the law here, the district court, I should say, actually, the District of Columbia, the circuit court there in D.C., decided to let this ban go through. And today, the Supreme Court saying they got it right. So they are affirming the lower court decision, which means the ban can go through, at least legally, as of Sunday. That's when the law was supposed to go into effect. And so this allows that to happen. They say they're not going to get into the First Amendment implications of it. That was something that TikTok had raised and said they're looking at the national security implications, something that the Justice Department, the FBI, they've raised concerns about, as you mentioned, the Chinese ownership interest here, whether the manipulation of American users' data could happen, whether Americans could be spied on effectively. And because of that reason, the Supreme Court is allowing this ban to go through. Now, however, as we have been reporting for days now, as Savannah and others have been reporting for days, the Biden administration effectively ready to punt this over to the Trump administration. The Trump administration also realizing the popularity of this app, looking for ways to save it. But for the company, if I'm the general counsel, I'm saying as of right now, I have a valid law that the Supreme Court is saying can go through. This ban can go through. And so even though the political winds may change here, Craig, the ban as of right now can go into effect on Sunday.
Based on the arguments that we heard during the case there, and based on what we heard from the justices themselves, are you at all surprised by the High Court's decision?
No, and the timing here really, I think, sort of crystallized the stakes for everybody. The whole point of this law was to sort of prompt a divestiture. They hoped by passing this law by Congress, then the company would actually offload this books, perhaps sell it to someone else. That didn't happen, and so they were sort of in a game of chicken, and really everybody was trying to see which one would sort of do the head fake first, but that has that not happened here? And so now it's going to be up to the next administration to decide whether to enforce this or not.
Savannah Sellers has been all over the story from the very beginning. I want to bring you into the conversation now. What have we been hearing from TikTok users, TikTok creators?
Well, they have been quite upset, Craig, as you can imagine, as we've been reporting here. 170 million Americans use this app. They were making a lot of noise, calling representatives. They were moving to other Chinese-owned apps as almost a form of protest to make those other apps go viral, kind of make the point, what are you going to do, play whack-a-mole with these types of apps? But also what we're hearing from TikTok has been really interesting in the wake of that news that NBC broke yesterday, which is what Laura was just referring to. The Biden administration is essentially saying that they will not actually implement this law on Sunday. That was a huge win for TikTok because their biggest concern right now has been that day one implementation because it was the last day of a President Biden who obviously signed this into law. It was not yet over to President Trump, who has said he wants to save TikTok. The reason that's such a big deal, Craig, is because the way that the law is written, what would have happened on day one, should it have been being implemented, is the service providers to TikTok. So that's a company like, think about Apple. That's where you go into their app store and you download TikTok. That's Oracle. That's the company that's hosting all the data for TikTok. It makes it work. Those companies would have been the ones to face a punishment here. They would have been fined $5,000 per user, 5,000 times 170 million, a lot of money. With the Biden administration effectively saying they're not doing that, there is a good chance here, and I think this may end up being the headline, that TikTok continues operating as normal. They have not confirmed that. We will continue to see what happens throughout the day. The big thing we are now waiting for, and Laura can probably add more to this here, is now what the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, is going to say they're going to do. Those service providers and TikTok will be looking for the Department of Justice to put it in writing, their plans to not actually implement this law on Saturday. Also, my sources have confirmed to me we will hear from TikTok today. They will say what this access to this app is going to look like.
So just to be very clear with you, here are the situation, here are the implications that can happen. The Supreme Court has indeed upheld the ban, which is set to take effect on Sunday. President-elect Donald Trump has a few, I'm incorrect. It's set to take effect on January 19th. So yeah, it is Sunday. Yeah, so basically in 2 days. So it's set to take effect on January 19th. And President-elect Donald Trump has a few options to try and save TikTok. So he can try to, Trump could issue an executive order to delay the enforcement of the ban from 60 to 90 days. However, this might face legal challenges as executive orders cannot override laws passed by Congress. Attorney General's discretion. Trump could instruct his Attorney General not to enforce the ban. This would effectively allow TikTok to keep operating, but it might not provide long-term security for the app. Pressure Congress. Trump could leverage his influence to push Congress to amend or repeal the law. This would be a more permanent solution, but would require significant political maneuvering. It's not going to happen. Congress is not going to repeal that. It would take absolute hell on earth. There are too many people who don't like TikTok and don't like Gen Z. Yes, I said it. Don't like Gen Z for that to be repealed. It's not happening. They could revive Project Texas. This proposal involves U.S. officials overseeing TikTok's American operations to ensure data security. While the Biden administration rejected this plan, Trump could attempt to revive it. Regarding the 90-day extension, there is a possibility. Senator Ed Markey has introduced a bill to extend the deadline by 270 days. Additionally, there is a provision in the current law that allows for a 90-day extension if there is progress towards a sale, which is what Trump would basically be allowed to do. And Trump has expressed his intention to save TikTok, so it will be interesting to see what path he chooses to, once he takes office. Here's the thing. Outside of new legislation, the ban would have to go into effect after 90 days, even if it got the 90-day extension and Trump couldn't stop it, right? Correct. Even if the TikTok ban gets a 90-day extension, it would still go into effect after that period, unless new legislation is passed or the Supreme Court intervenes. President-elect Trump can't stop the ban on his own, but he could try to influence Congress or work with the Supreme Court to find a solution. It's a complex situation with a lot of moving parts. So at this point, here's what ends up happening. Trump has not, if he does go in, if he does decide to extend it, which he probably will, and give them 90 days, they have to get TikTok sold within 90 days. They are not going to be able to get a bill through Congress to get TikTok reinstated. Most Americans want TikTok banned. Most Americans think that it has created brain rot among Alpha and Z. All right, especially Z, but definitely Alpha. Most Americans don't like Gen Z and kind of want it to be taken away to punish Gen Z as well. Let's be real, we want to punish Gen Z, but at the same time, we don't like TikTok. But a lot of it is about punishing Gen Z. So this ban is almost undoubtedly going to remain in effect. Trying to actually pass a new bill is not going to happen. And Trump can do many different things, but it's not going to happen. Congress hates TikToks. The federal courts hate TikToks. The lower courts hate TikTok. Everyone hates TikTok. So the ban on TikTok, it looks like it is undoubtedly, they really are between a rock and a hard place. And even if he were to direct his attorney general not to act upon the ban, the fact is that it would still be breaking the law. And companies that, even if the attorney general does not go after companies that are, not actively shutting down TikTok and restricting access to TikTok, it doesn't matter because they would still be breaking the law. And the fact that they would be breaking the law could open them up to major implications. Regardless if the U.S. government takes any action on enforcing the ban, it doesn't change the fact that the ban has been in effect. It doesn't change the fact that these companies would be fined thousands of dollars per day. Even if the government does not initially go and collect that money, that's a massive amount of liability and a massive amount of risk that companies like Apple, Google are taking, Microsoft are taking by allowing TikTok to continue remaining in their app stores, by continuing to facilitate the availability of TikTok. Even ISPs, to my understanding, internet service providers, will also have to block access to TikTok. So Verizon, AT&T, Spectrum, Optimum, they'll have to block access to TikTok. And if they do not comply with this, again, they can face anywhere from tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, to millions of dollars in fines. Okay? So I honestly don't think that even if Trump says, listen, you don't have to enforce the law, tells the Attorney General and Department of Justice not to enforce the law, it does not change anything. The law is still there, and these companies could still end up being fined later on for technically violating the law. Just because the government isn't coming after you for violating the law does not mean that you are allowed to violate a law. That is the implication right here. And is it really worth it? Is saving TikTok, is allowing people to use TikTok really worth it for these companies? Let's be real. It's all about money. And they're going to really say, yeah, it's not worth it for me to protect this Chinese spying app. What I think will end up happening here is TikTok, they really only have a couple of choices because they have 90 days to sell the app, and they have to find someone who's going to come up with that kind of money in 90 days. These types of things take quite a significant amount of time. Google is not going to be able to buy that app. Microsoft is not going to be able to buy that app. Facebook is not going to be able to buy that app. Amazon, maybe, but I don't think so. All right. Amazon is a maybe right now. One of the biggest problems with these companies is the fact that now they are all under investigation for monopolies in the United States. Okay. So I mean, the U.S. government is looking into breaking up Google, breaking up breaking up Google, potentially still breaking up Microsoft. They cannot buy TikTok. The amount of scrutiny would be ridiculous. So there's very few people that would actually be allowed to buy TikTok, and the most right now they're floating the idea that the only person that could potentially afford to buy TikTok would be Elon Musk. And that's if Elon actually chose to do so. Now, here's where things get kind of interesting. TikTok is technically worth somewhere between like 50 and $100 billion, but this is a fire sale. And the reality is this: China basically has a couple of choices because there's, to my understanding, they were concerned they were basically concerned that they don't want to surrender the algorithm, and because that's their property, that's intellectual property, and no one is going to buy TikTok without the algorithm. On the other hand, the implications of TikTok being banned in the United States are severe for the global economy. With TikTok, if it's banned in the US, that could lead to further issues in other countries, and it could be a major disruptor to the service. So it may end up occurring. What may end up occurring is Elon may be allowed to purchase it. I'm telling you right now, that's a coy fox right there. He knows that he has all the power and all the leverage. I don't see Elon paying more than $20 billion for TikTok, maybe as low as 10 to 15 billion. And his argument will essentially be take it or leave it. I'm so serious. No one in their right mind would spend 50 billion or 100 billion dollars for that. All right, when it's a fire sale right now. I remember Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank saying that he might buy TikTok. Kevin's not even a billionaire? How is Kevin going to afford TikTok? Obviously, he'd have to go looking for investors. But this guy was not talking about spending any serious money. He's from Shark Tank. He's a bastard. He was looking to try to buy TikTok up for maybe $4 to $5 billion, if even that. All right, these are scumbags. These are scumbags, and Elon is not going to pay what TikTok is technically worth. It would be a mass. It's basically free money for many of them. Now, of course, would there be serious implications? For example, for Elon getting in, and the mainstream media wanted to come after him, and yeah, they can. But at the end of the day, who gives a damn? Also, something interesting that's happening with Twitter or X is they're changing the algorithm a bit to show less depressing stuff. So, things that are not as depressing, right? It would not surprise me if Elon purchased TikTok and he changed the algorithm to show more educational content the way that they actually do it in China. Yeah, TikTok in China, it actually shows educational content on the Chinese version of TikTok, while in the US, it's just indoctrination garbage. All right. There's a reason why the Chinese are showing us all of these different things, that because guys, they are basically using it as junk to desensitize us, to destroy our attention span, and then to collect information from us. All right, while building profiles. And I'm not making this up. This is something that we know that these bastards have been doing for a matter of fact. And it's not going to stop until we take drastic action to limit the reach of TikTok that has grown way too powerful. And like I said, there's no way going forward that TikTok is really going to be able to survive, at least in its current state. They are most definitely going to be banned, and there's not really going to be anything that's going to bail them out other than a full-blown sale to someone like Elon, who is then going to probably gut it and change things around. But you know how Elon is. He's a funny guy, but yeah, the ban is officially in place right now. I mean, it will be in place starting on the 19th. And, Trump is not going to really be able to do anything to stop it. TikTok could try to keep on operating. They already said that they were going to be shutting down on the 19th if the ban were to go into place. And it's a hard one because I don't know if they really want to take. I don't know if they really want to take the chance. They might take the chance, mess around, but then they could find out. So that's the situation. That's the situation with TikTok right now. Let me ask you something. When the banks collapse, and trust me, it's coming, will you be ready? Imagine waking up to ATMs that don't work, bank doors chained shut, and millions of people left with nothing. No cash, no access to their savings, and no way to survive. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. That's why I created Angry's Crypto Academy to teach you everything you need to know about crypto so you can protect yourself and your family. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and even day trade crypto for a living. Plus, we alert you to new crypto trends so you can profit before everyone else even knows what's happening. Right now, I've just published an exclusive investment guide inside the Academy, and it's linked in the description below. In it, I reveal the one coin that could make you a millionaire. A coin so revolutionary, it could change everything. If you missed out on Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is your second chance. This isn't just about financial freedom, it's about survival. When the system collapses and everyone else is selling, you'll be the one buying, prepared to weather the storm and thrive while others struggle to survive. Don't wait. This knowledge isn't optional, it's critical. The link's in the description. Go check it out now.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.